Listeners be advised. The Soliloquy podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Squish. Cicero. Lipshits. Oh God. Okay. I'm definitely watching Chicago after this. I'm putting on a whole performance after this, y'all. Oh my God. See, this is why. Okay. Professional. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holy Liquid Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slaytor Jackson. And for you freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Adams. On today's episode, I have Tyrell back. How are you doing, good sir?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
You know, I'm doing great because black boys are delicious. Black boys are nutritious.
And y'all who are listening to this, we are not even drinking yet.
Oh my God. Y'all, so before we even sat down to record, I was on the Instagrams, right? And I'm going to have to remember to post the this what I was watching in the show notes so that y'all could understand the context of everything. But you know, I was on Instagram. One of my favorite art authors, Bernice McFadden, she posted something in the video. It was just someone singing the song. I don't know if it's a song they wrote or whatever, but and then they were talking about black boys. Black boys being delicious, nutritious, talk about our mocha skin and all this other. I'm like, ooh, I'm choppy. Oh my God, yummy. Oh, continue to describe me, but it was also very cringe just because of who was, saying these things. And the reason why this is important is because the context of this conversation for today is Black fetishization. So the universe did what it needed to do so that we just introduce this topic the way that we had to. So, and of course, I did send it to Tyrell too, because look, might as well.
Yeah,
what was your take on
y'all,
that video?
if y'all listen to the song, it has a catchy jingle. The lyrics actually really are true, but as far as it's like the person who is coming from, that's the part that what makes it cringe. So you have to kind of like hear it twice so that way you can hear the lyrics and like see how they do ring true. But then it's like the other side of your brain is like, no, this is just not right.
Right. It's the delivery. Like, we have to remember it's all about the messenger. I get, don't shoot the messenger, but send the right messenger. Like, I'm not going to diss Sparta and kick your ass down a hole, but look, I appreciate what you said about me, but context matters. Context matter in all of this. Like, what are we doing here? I look again, like we were saying before the show. I just need that to be like an R&B or hip hop or pop song, and see how we can make this work. Like Meg, find this song, flip and reverse it. I'm here for it. Add Missy Elliott on it too because I love Missy. And Missy can do some artistic shit with this song. Oh my God. I see her having a video of black men melting like chocolate and then chocolate going over other women's bodies and them tasting it and all. Oh my God. Oh, that would be sick.
That would be lit. That would be so lit.
Ooh. Okay, I'm sorry. My
Y'all put that out into the universe.
Yes, y'all. Let's make this happen.
And we better get credit for it.
Exactly. Look, I only okay, I take like a good 5% of the royalties on that. Let me not be too selfish and whatnot. But
Shoot, considering my finances, I'll take 2.5 or
right,
get it to at least get it to 3.
right, just a
Any
little
other one.
boost. Make sure I can survive a little bit. That's all.
Mm. Look,
We
them
good.
residual checks, and when you save them and they add up, baby.
Look, listen, sustainable income. Fuck a passive.
Mm,
Passive means you got to do a little bit of work. I'd rather just
mm-mm,
already have the work out there and it just keep on going.
mm-mm.
Royalties, they matter.
They do. They absolutely do.
So Missy and Meg, what's up? What we doing? I could be in the video too. Mm.
Yeah, y'all
Oh,
need some extra. Y'all need some extra voice. Like, hello, we here.
look, we're serving body types. We're serving the chocolate. We're serving the drip in a different way. Let me
Mm,
melt on these motherfuckers. Let them crave my chocolate flavor. Oh,
mm.
shout out to Zay. Anyways, what the fuck am I on today, Lord?
And I'll preface again. This is all before we've had any drinks.
Okay, let's get into actual conversation of black fetishization. So
Ooh,
first off, Tyrell, how do you feel about black fetishization?
ooh, okay. So, I mean, if we're talking about like, because I feel like there's a lot of different spectrums that this could be talked about. I was so glad to like have this kind of topic because over the past year, I've actually been delving into the nature of kink and BDSM. Just novelty stuff, not actually doing anything just as of yet, but really trying to understand differences between kinks and fetishes, where it is that they sort of overlap. And so there, we can talk about like the clinical definitions and things like that, but then also there's a inherent power dynamic that we talk about and the downside and dark side to black kink and fetishization as well.
Hmm.
So
You're right. I think like with when it comes to being fetishized and whatnot, we have to understand the level of respect within that. Like, am I being seen as a human within this, or am I being seen as an object? And I think
right.
that's something that really does play a role whenever you do things like this. Like, one of the things we did talk about within the intake was just, like boundaries of being fetish and
Mm,
for fetishized. And I know, like for myself, I am comfortable with somebody like worshiping my body in a respectful way, but not making me feel as though I'm the object in the room, making me feel as though I'm being dehumanized,
right.
but I'm being appreciated. And when it comes to like my skin, I don't mind somebody, appreciating the beauty that is me. But when
Right.
when it always have to be the black dick, the black tits, the black ass, the black this, like let me know that I got that
Right.
cocoa dripping all over you. Like let me know. Like get
Yeah.
sex me with some wordage. Like give me some adjectives that's not all about my race. Then
Right.
maybe I'll be a little bit more comfortable in these
Yeah.
spaces.
And here's the thing, like, and of course, this would take much more research and things like that. Like, you really have to delve into like the history of it. But I think the reason why this topic is so prevalent is because when we talk about black fetishization, again, like you say, it's not necessarily the fetishizing of like body parts or things like that. That's innately what fetish is. But particularly like in kink communities it's a very controversial topic about the nature of race play
Hmm.
because when you start delving into scene roles and fetishizing based off the nature of someone's skin color, it's reinforcing this kind of self-deprecating system that, of course, stems back to the history of how black bodies being dismembered and demoralized where all that stems from our history is being subjugated to the nature of chattel slavery and how our bodies are used in those contexts, and so it just reinforces that. So no matter if you're trying to put it into a kind of kink or fetish kind of scenario, kind of play and scenario, it's still going to have that reinforced nature because that's something that has never gone away. And speaking directly to anyone who's listening, for Black women especially, there's a brokenness in society and self-esteem, especially for that of the Black woman. And that particularly like in the kink world, there's a negative association with like Black women being called like heavy bottoms because they have to prove themselves and somebody has to have trauma, they have to come from trauma. So Black women, sometimes in certain kink dynamics or expressing certain fetishes, it's been this kind of stereotype, and especially for darker skinned women as well, that you use fetishization and kink to like cover up abuse
Mm.
or to or to cover up um misgivings or misdealings that that you've had in the past in relationship dynamics and things like that. So yeah, it's a very dark side to the nature of talking about fetishization and kink, because all while it's supposed to be in the nature of safe fun, keyword being safe, yeah, you may be acting out a scene or acting out a role as being safe, but do you feel emotionally safe? Do you feel psychologically safe? So that takes on a whole different kind of time connotation.
And I think it's great that you mentioned the aspect of, people thinking that these, most definitely Black women, whenever they're within these kink spaces, that it's something towards acting out trauma. Granted, yes, some people do utilize kinks for, exposure therapy or what have you, or to have ownership of a narrative that they've gone through, but
Mm,
that's not the majority of the kink spaces. Like, I think a I feel as though a good bit of that comes from us being in a society that always wants to focus on the pathologize or pathologization, whatever, making
pathology.
yeah, making everything based in pathology. That there's something wrong with other people, but by going outside of the norm or exploring things that we don't have within our narrative of what is identified as normal.
Mm,
So there's something wrong with these people. So what is it that impact them to make them want to do this rather than acknowledging that, people just have fantasies. People just want to try
exactly.
different things. People want to explore other things. It's not always because, oh, this person had to have been a victim. Like I remember there was this conversation. There was this Black woman in a group of other women. I don't think it was all Black women, but she mentioned how she felt very privileged that she's one of the only few people that she know to never have been sexually assaulted, harassed, or anything like that.
Mm,
And how, yeah, she appreciate the narratives of the and the awareness of, like believing women and whatnot, but to attribute that story to all women makes her feel a lot left out. But she also recognized her feelings of being left out of that conversation is still a privilege. So
exactly.
I think like within these spaces and us creating these narratives about other people, we have to recognize that we we don't have to focus so much on the pathology. We don't have to focus so much on this person have to have gone through something just for them to want have the drive to be successful, or any case like that. Because look, some people have a very, very manila life. They have a very happy life that they haven't had to experience any traumas or anything like that, and it's good that they have that. It's a
Right.
beautiful thing.
Right. And it's such a it's one, it's a stereotype, and then two, it's just based off of false information too. Like people who get into BDSM and kink and things like that, that you're trying to work out some sort of trauma, which I'm not saying, like you said, that's, it could be true for, a good
Hmm.
segment or population of people, but that's not the main narrative. For anyone that is not familiar, um, BDSM is about power exchange. You're building a healthy dynamic between you and all partners that you are engaging in play with, and those roles are negotiated when certain roles are agreed on. So BDSM can be anything from sensual and sadistic, of course, the nature of dominant and submissive are about energy. They're not about identity roles. You don't have to like in everything, and you definitely get to define your limits and what aligns for you. And what aligns for you is not going to be the nature of abuse. It's not going to be the result of trauma or inherent even gender dynamics. So yeah, it's a very falsehood, the fact that kink does not have to be built on the nature of some type of psychological trauma or reason, so.
Hmm. Another thing I want to bring up is like, at least for yourself, have you ever experienced being fetishized?
Hmm. I have experienced being fetishized like on in online spaces,
Hmm.
particularly from white men. But it's not even to say like it's exclusively white men.
Hmm.
I do want to preface that. There is a culture, especially being same gender loving or gay or however you want to, identify, but within queer communities that like you'll be scrolling online, all of a sudden like you get this message or you match with someone, and the first thing that they're asking is, about that BBC, that big black cock, or
Hmm.
something that just as innately is just a turn off. It's like even if I had some sort of interest in engaging with you, I don't now. Just because like out of our first couple messages, the first, and it's kind of like to say like I think sometimes people feel like if you're on a website that is prone to hookup culture, why are you mad about it? But it's still the nature of like it doesn't make it an excuse. Just because you
Hmm.
happen to be online, you may be looking for a hookup or whatever it is that you may be looking for at this point in time, but that still gives no right for someone to fetishize you.
The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Holiloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation.
Looking for a hookup or whatever it is that you may be looking for at this point in time, but that still gives no right for someone to fetishize you.
Mm.
That's not an excuse.
And thanks for mentioning that, like the apps that we use and everything. And this is kind of going back into the conversation that we had that previous episode about, the scripts and whatnot.
Mm,
Like, just because I'm in this space doesn't mean that I have to follow the script of what everybody else defined for the space. Like, we make the experiences that we want to have on these apps. It's
mm.
great that you want to utilize this only for strictly hookups, and your hookups can be defined within 3 messages. I love that for you, but don't think that I have to follow that same path. Don't expect me to be the same person as you because we're whole two different individuals, regardless.
Exactly.
And I think that like even when it comes to when I utilize apps, and because I've had those similar experiences from people of all races, and it's always that BBC kind of conversation that do you have BBC or just BBC question mark or send me that dick or all these
Right.
things that just makes me feel uncomfortable. But like when I'm looking on these apps and seeing the profiles, the names, stuff that people have on their profiles, I'm like, how much of this is really you? Or how much is this you? How much of it is you marketing to other people that this I'm going to fulfill your needs, because I see profiles saying BBC looking, or
Mhm.
looking, or I want BBC and all these other things. But I'm
Mhm.
like, is this really you? Like
Right.
what is it that is driving you? Like, are you selling, not necessarily selling yourself, but how are you marketing yourself? Is
Right.
like,
And it's almost like a catch-22 because on one hand, it's like the audacity for you to say something like this because it's
mhm,
like, okay, that really lets me know what's going on in your mind. But also it's kind of like it's not necessarily say a good thing, but it's a good thing to see because then that just lets me know like, okay, you're someone I definitely don't want to be engaging
mhm,
with. So in a lot of ways, it keeps you from wasting time with people. Then just to find out, oh, like I'm being fetishized, of course. But yeah, I don't, and it's something that is so ingrained in just culture that seeing the black body as just an object
mhm,
and I'm not going to say that other groups of people don't do it or that even communities within our people don't fetishize others as well. I can honestly say, like, for me, just speaking for myself, I've never had this like, oh, like if I was to see like someone who is white or Asian or any other type of ethnicity, my mind does not go to fetishizing things about them based on their ethnicity or their background
mhm,
or something like that. Like I don't like my mind does not translate like, oh, okay, this particular group of people are known for having this and this as far as body types or body parts. So, that's where I don't understand. Like, of course, we all know black and brown people come in so many different shades, body sizes,
mhm.
colors, whatever. And but you just seem fixated, on this notion of BBC, which of course we know where of course that stems from, but yeah, it's like, come on, like we living in 2023.
Yes, and I know like some of the communities that I've seen being fetishized, mostly outside of the Black people, specifically the Asian woman
Hmm.
is someone who's most likely being fetishized as well. I would say in some aspect, Asian men.
Hmm.
Um, of course, Black and brown people in general, but and I've been thinking about white people in a way, but I don't think, of course, I could be wrong, but I don't necessarily see white people actually being fetishized, because in our society, with we whiteness is the standard
Right.
essentially. So that is the thing that you're supposed to desire, the thing that you're supposed to want. Yes, you have those people within multiple communities who just like, I'm not no black people, I only want white people and all this other stuff. But I don't see that as them seeing them as a fetish. Like, you have like the snow bunny and all this other things, but that
Hmm.
snow bunny is not a fetish. That snow bunny is still going to be seen as a full human being
Right.
within the space of their sexual encounters, or even the way that they interact with this person.
Right.
They're still going to still have that sense of humanity, outside of when it's on the reverse. That's something that I've been exposed to. And of course, again, could be wrong because I don't speak for everybody. But it's like, is it possible for white people to be fetishized, um, with them still being, the ideal of what success is supposed to be, ideal of what love is supposed to be, what beauty is supposed to be, all of that, because the culture we live in.
Right.
So, is it possible?
Hmm. That's a really interesting question. Like, I don't, I don't, s- I'm not going to never say never because we never know what changes, within our
Mm,
cultural climates, but
mm,
I don't see that really ever happening. And I guess it's because like in spaces that I, frequent in, even for, younger black men, older black men, who may be, with, white partners or
mhm,
whatever, there is this sense, like you say, because of the fact that whiteness has always been we've always measured the standard of beauty based on whiteness.
Hmm.
There, yeah, of course, when I was first starting to venture into looking at porn and things like that, of course, like I watch white porn and stuff like that, of course, but um, and especially because like they had some of like the main best storytelling
Hmm.
like you've ever seen, but yeah, it was never one of those things like I fetishized to be with a white man, just based off of that. And I think that in some ways it's kind of like this, not necessarily role reversal, but again, it's a schism that for I can't speak for a white man because I'm not in the embodiment of a white man, but it's something about there's a deviance that's always been associated with black and brown bodies. And I think when you attach that fetishization with it, it's kind of like, yeah, when I am able to have this black body, when I'm able to fully indulge in this so-called, fetish or kink that I have, then that somehow is the epitome of like a sexual awakening of some kind.
Mm.
So personally for me, I don't think that we will ever get to a place of whiteness being fetishized because of the fact it's always been the standard of how we equate beauty.
Mm.
So I don't think that that will change. What I am hoping for though is I can say like there are a numerous amount of content creators out here and people in their everyday relationships that kind of try to skirt around conversations with white counterparts, no matter if they're in relation with them or you may just be doing a scene. You may have a scene partner because you're doing content creation that try to skirt around the nature of the issue of being fetishized.
Mm.
And I'm hoping that those conversations can be a lot more productive because it's not to shut down the conversation. It is not to say like, oh, white men should be off limits or black men should be off limits or, what have you. I feel to believe people should love who they love. It's not for
Hmm.
me, but people, should love, who they want to love or be in a scene with who they want to be a scene with and then not be a thing. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room either.
Mm.
Let's not pretend like it doesn't exist.
I get you there. I,
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I think like one of the things I feel like it's important to delineate that is that, fetishization and objectification are two different things.
Right.
Because the reason why I feel the need to do so is because in this conversation, I feel as though someone may think that, well, this does happen to other people, like, because, people be objectified all the time. And yeah,
Mm.
a part of being fetishized is being made to be an object of someone's pleasure and whatnot. But it's not necessarily the same as being objectified,
Mm.
because yes, we do objectify people in different scenarios. Be it if someone's famous, we see them as oh, I would love to have them. We see them as a commodity and whatnot, something to purchase, something to, buy, all these other things, but is not necessarily the same as making them into a fetish.
Right.
And yes, there's a huge history of women being objectified in different ways, most definitely white women, black women, women, all women of color, like, and men as well can be objectified. You can be objectified in your own relationship, but it's not the same as being fetishized.
Right. Yeah, and then and also just to put it into like a little bit of context, like when we talk about kink, fetishization, objectification, like I think just to put some small definitions out there, um because like a lot of times like even we've had the conversations like a lot of people don't really even know the difference really between kink and fetish,
Mm.
and like I like how there's a mental health clinician, I think her name is Shanae Adams, basically, kind of puts it into context. A kink is something that turns you on, whereas a fetish is something you need in order to get turned on, to be aroused. So a lot of times, like even when people talk about, like, I'm just going to put it out there, you know, um, I have a kind of kink for feet.
Hmm.
And so, but a lot of times feet will be associated as a fetish instead of a kink. because of the fact that people automatically, and I think it's not just because of the wordplay, but I think they associate the nature of if you have a fetish with something, then it must be something of like a body part. So, like for me, for example, just speaking for myself, like I tend to say like I have a foot kink instead of a fetish because although it can turn that way, it's kind of like if you have a foot fetish, for example, that means that you need to receive or give something involving feet in order to experience an orgasm. For me, it's something that, yeah, I like. Yeah, I like to. It is something that turns me on, but I don't necessarily need to, have something done or, do something or receive something involving feet for me to like experience an orgasm either.
Mm.
So for one, just putting that kind of, context, out there. But but yeah, just the nature of the both of those definitions. And then like you say, objectification is something I think uh not necessarily entirely different, but the nuances of objectifying someone means to me, for me, it's always meant that there's an element of degrading someone.
Mm.
And if that degrading is not in the context of a kind of BDSM scenario where that we're as far as like we're doing this as far as like a scene play of some kind, then that's where it crosses bounds. So just like one of the all-time movies that gets trashed, which it should be, like the whole thing, like whenever people think about kink or whatever, they immediately think about 50 Shades of Grey,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And as we know, 50 Shades of Grey is not accurate to kink life. That is based on the nature of abuse, glamorizing, controlling behavior, where consent is a gray area, and that is completely not what kink is. And so when you're thinking about the types of play between impact and bondage and rough play, even psychological aspects of kink, role play, erotic humiliation, as we're thinking about certain things that we would think of as degrading. However, if it's in the nature of like an erotic humiliation aspect, there's a whole lot of things that have been worked out before
Mhm.
that even gets put. So even just to go back to the nature of feet for a minute, I'm not necessarily into like foot humiliation, but some people may be into having their feet stomped on or, something, involving some sort of like humiliation play. However, that's not the same thing as objectification because that's taking place in a set of agreed rules and context that is based on the nature of consent.
Mhm.
So it's not an objectification where it's just, oh, like you see me, you see I have this particular feature or whatever. So you just want to objectify me and degrade me when you don't even know me,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. And I think like the importance of conversations like this is for like when people hear things like this, hopefully it calls them to self-reflect on how they view other people, how they interact with people and see them. Because when it comes to being fetishized, give give the person an opportunity to consent to that.
Mm,
Like when it comes to those scenes of like what is it, the slave play, the interracial, and
mm,
the race play scenarios where you
mm,
might have someone being a white slave owner and the black guy, black woman being the slave to them,
mm,
in utilizing language that you might see or hear within those times. Well, let's be real, that language is still being used today, but um, the way that they interact within that scene, all of that has been agreed upon, right?
right.
They are comfortable with hearing these words. They are comfortable with having that displayed within that scene. And outside of that, the person might not even be with this black person because of them being black. It's just because they fell in love and they
Mm,
just wanted to express themselves in this way through this certain kink. Or they might just be not necessarily strangers, but people who played together for some time and they wanted to try something like that. And here they are, they're experiencing that and they're doing that. And that's more something that they agreed upon rather than you being someone that I haven't even heard of, don't even know
Right.
what you look like, and you're already asking me about a BBC. Those are
Co-
completely different
completely different
things.
things. Right. Right. And then I also think that for people who, kind of innately fetishize other people based on the nature of, like your skin or your background or, just even objectification, like it's because of the fact that I think, again, as we talk about schisms, they feel entitled to you.
Mm,
That sense of entitlement, like the fact that I can think this, even for like, even if they don't necessarily act on anything, the fact that you think this is the fact that you feel like you're entitled to me, like you're
mm,
entitled to the nature of my body or whatever it is that you are trying to fetishize or objectify. And it's a problem, and that is precisely why in kink communities, even as people are talking about scene play and role play and these kind of things, where I was hearing a talk recently that was really transformative, and they were talking about how people automatically assume like if you're into fetishes or kink that you don't need to, like, all sorts of judgment, kind of goes out the window because you're doing something that is outside of what you would think of in air quotes vanilla sex.
mhm,
And I liked how the panel of people were putting it because they're like, no, all communities judge, even kink communities.
mhm,
Like, and as if you're going to participate in kink or if you are going to engage in the nature of a fetish or anything like that, you should judge because you need to discern who and how you want to be involved with people, you know.
facts.
And so the nature of it is that you need, if you're going to engage in a scene play or some type of fetish, it's like, hey, how long is this activity going to happen? What are some defined roles that we have? So on and so forth. There's a whole bunch of questions that you need to ask. Negotiating those kind of labels or roles for you. Who's giving, who's receiving. And just all of those things. Setting limits. And it's one of those things that, again, going back to entitlement. You know, you should not let everybody have access to you.
Mm,
you know and so it's kind of to say that if you do have a particular fetish or you do have a particular kink, it's wonderful to explore those things. It's wonderful to
mhm.
explore that, but you need to be safe about who you explore that with.
Agreed. Agreed.
There's a whole background and there's a whole culture into engaging in scenes. Like if you are into some sort of impact or knife play, yeah, you need to be judging the person who's having a knife in their hand.
Mm,
If you are engaging in fire because you like fire play or something like that, if that person is engaging in scenes and they don't have a bowl of water next to them, yeah, you need to be scared. Like, so I'm just saying, do your homework, people, before you decide to engage in certain fetishes and certain kinks. And again, do not let people feel that they are entitled to you.
mhm,
Just because I engage in this, that doesn't mean if we innately have a sexual or intimate relationship that that's what we're going to engage in.
mhm.
So delineations.
Look, and I say that's some great advice for dating in general too. You really
Mm,
do have to suss people out. Like that's
yeah.
like when it most definitely when it comes to the kink community. I remember I was watching a show. It's called Indisputable with Rashad Ritchie. It goes
Mm,
on TYT. But I was watching it, and on one of those episodes, he had Ricky Smiley on, and there was this story of this guy who went to this a woman's house. It was a black man, white woman, and they were, he was going there to hook up with her, and of course, there was a little bit of kink shaming in this, but
mm,
this is beside the point. But they he went over there to engage in sex with this woman, and she ended up tying him up and whatnot, and she had plans to kill this man. And of course, he didn't know that. He was just thinking that she was just extra kinky and whatnot. And this man almost died.
mm,
And tell this story to say you cannot trust everybody, regardless. If most definitely, if you're feeling uncomfortable and you have not agreed upon whatever this person is trying to
Yeah.
do not pass go.
Yeah.
Leave, put your clothes on. If they try to pressure you, tell them you are uncomfortable. You're just going to go home. Talk about it later, but don't talk about it later. Block that motherfucker. Anyways, just tell them that you're going home. And if they continue to try to, keep you from leaving, now you got a legal case. Call the police, whatever you need to do. Get some kind of help to get yourself out of there
Right.
because
And if you have done your homework on the nature of kink, you would know by that point not to even put yourself in a situation like that. And it's not to say
true.
it wouldn't happen, but there is a aspect of kink called aftercare, which of course we don't have to get into, but it is the nature of, hey, whatever it is that we just engaged in, or even attempted to engage in, there always needs to be some form of aftercare where we're both checking in to see about check in about our feelings and to see if like this is something that, hey, do we continue doing or not? So
Mhm.
again, just the nature of aftercare with the nature of of BDSM. But also, I also don't want us to, kind of have this aspect where, we talk about fetish, we talk about kinks. I mean, all of it is meant to be fun. It's
Mhm.
meant to be explorative, and just know that even if you set limits, limits can change, but you have to work that out gradually.
Mhm.
So one of the great things I liked, and this goes for indulging in the nature of fetishes and kinks, um, a workshop I attended last year. I like how it was spoken about. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 in just a matter of a few minutes. Like if you have a particular fetish or you have a particular kink that you want to kind of know more about, of course, read up on it, study
Mhm.
it, maybe attend a workshop or two. But also, if so say for instance, hey, you like to be spanked, right? If you are someone that likes to be spanked, but it's kind of like you don't have to go from 0 to 100. You don't automatically have to go out and get yourself a flogger, or something like that. Use household items. Use maybe like a wooden spoon or something. See, like if pat yourself on the bottom or, you did it to like your partner, like see how that feels. And then you can increasingly, gradually go from there. So that's also something else to take into consideration. Like just because you have a particular fetish or you have a particular kink, you don't have to go from 0 to 100 in a second because hey, you may like a lower level of impact. You may like a medium level of impact, or you may get to that place where you're liking the nature of the flogger,
Mhm.
but you don't know and you don't want to test your bounds too fast.
Agreed. And another thing I want to add on that is making sure that, okay, if someone tells you that they have no limits or they have no boundaries, do not engage in that.
Red flag.
Do not
Red flag.
go away. They need to understand themselves a lot more, and it is not up to you to figure out what that limit is. Find somebody who knows what their boundaries are, what their limits are, and you can discuss and communicate about that a lot easier. And if you are one
Mm,
of those people who feel as though that you don't have any boundaries, I will say sit with yourself, understand yourself a lot
mm,
more and figure out what those may look like for you. Because the reason
mm.
why is because we all have boundaries, we all
Yes,
have limits. And if you have none, there's some reasons why, and you just don't understand the reasons. And so
right.
figure that out. And once you do figure it out, you will understand exactly what those are.
Exactly.
It's a red flag
I,
for a reason.
Yeah. And I do want to just kind of name drop, and I'm sure that, probably it'll be like listed in like the resources section or, wherever Vern keeps his wonderful, wonderful, afterthoughts for our after show. There is, since we've been talking about, kind of Black fetishization, I do kind of want to throw an article that's out there. It's a very short article. It came out in 2013, but it's still very prominent from a sex positive Black feminist. She's a social worker, a blogger based in New York. She does a lot of topics about mental health, sexuality, politics. Her name is Feminista Jones. and she has an article in Ebony called "Talk Like Sex." Race play ain't for everyone. It's a
Mm.
wonderful, it's a wonderful short article. So if you are, curious about this conversation, or you're trying to figure out where this conversation, kind of stems from, definitely feel free to check out that article as well.
You know, definitely you need to send me that so I can make sure I put that in the show notes. But the thing that crossed my mind when you said race play is not for everyone, I thought about, oh, because my mind was kind of still stuck in the how can white people be fetishized, and then I thought about the oh, those porns that are like, oh, you like this white cock and all that other
Mm,
stuff. And for me, even when that thought crossed my mind, I was like, that can be it. But at the same time, that is more so of an affirmation at that point and not a
mm,
fetish, because of whiteness being the standard. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
if you say yes, then it's like, oh, well, that's what you're supposed to like anyway. So of course.
Mm,
And if you say no, then it's just like, well, fuck you. Well, I'm joking. They're not going to say, well, fuck you. It's just, okay, whatever. We're still fucking.
right.
So I don't know. That
And
just
again,
crossed my mind.
for everyone that's listening, it's, I'm not saying that, to do as I do or, anything like that. But again, as I've ventured into the past, year or so, delving into, I've always been the aspect of, I always like to understand
Mm,
why I like the things that I like. Or, why does this turn me on? And, things like that. So, of course, with me being a student, a researcher, all of that, that plays into my mind, how I like to dissect things anyway. But if you are, having certain fetishes, or you're thinking about the nature of kink, again, it's not to say that you need to go like full steam ahead, but start to question, start to delve into some, a little bit of research. There's a lot of great resources out there. If you
mm,
are wanting to know about the nature of black kink, there's a particular website. I think it's I want to say it's from Sugar Butch, I think, that like come with like six focus like black kink texts that delve into very different topics. So there's resources out there. So I say,
mm,
get yourself educated for as much as you can. Attend, some online free talks and workshops, except if you are attending, black, kink events, definitely, if you can pay a little money, give back into, pour back into your community, because people, they don't work for free. But sometimes, you can catch, a lot of times you can catch, great online workshops if you're just having general interest about something. So there are resources out there. So don't just go delve all the way into engaging in fetishes or engaging in kinks that you don't know a history of, you don't know
mm,
context of, and you're just going off of, what you feel in the moment. And a key part of understanding that is also understanding that not all kink has to be a sexual situation.
mm,
So when we're talking about dominant and submissive, or other kinds of dynamics, that is not always involving sex. There's a lot of psychology
mm,
involving the
mm.
nature of fetish and kinks. So just because you may have a desire, or you have a fetish for a particular body part or a particular object or something like that, again, that's playing into also the psychological aspect as well.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Most
so yeah,
definitely role
so yeah,
play.
just understand what it is that you're trying to engage with, or even just fun exploring, with the nature of yourself. It's always good to know, hey, this is where this kind of arousal for me, kind of stems from. It gives you so much rich language to talk with people on, and especially for people that you are being intimate with, or you may become intimate with, it makes for some really erotic and fun conversations.
Agreed. And I will also say, well, to add on to that, for anybody who's just looking to explore different things, different sides of sexuality, if you have the opportunity to ever go to a SAR, SAR stands for Sexual Attitude Reassessment and Restructuring Training. If you ever have the opportunity to go to one, do so. Go into it with an open mind. There's going to be some things that make you uncomfortable, some things that make you excited. And it's all about understanding why, having that space to self-reflect on yourself and sexuality. It's a beautiful thing. And afterwards, like I've participated in one, like I've already was a sex positive person prior to that, but even afterwards, it opened my eyes to some completely new things that I never thought I would be interested in exploring. And it also showed me some of the things that I know I'm not going to be into at all. And also, it brought a space of accepting the other things that most people just be like, oh my God, I would never do that. But just finding acceptance in, I don't have to do that. So it is what it is. Whatever the people do in their bedrooms, is who am I to judge? And usually I don't judge. So, but still, it's a very great opportunity if you ever find one. Um, Another thing to close out this episode, and before we get into never have I ever and whatnot. Something that we did talk about in the intake stemmed from people of color having to educate their partners of their experiences of being fetishized. What words do you have? It can be words of encouragement, advice, or even some of your own personal experience of having to educate friends or potential partners on your experiences. What is that like for you?
Yeah, so I'm going to speak to both sides of the aspect. If you are someone of color and you are dating someone who is, another ethnicity or background,
Mhm.
encourage your partner to do their own research, because it should not fall on you to educate your partners about a whole historical kind of context and overview. Your partner should be coming to you to talk about how has this shown up for you.
Mm,
And sometimes I tend to think that that's a battle with the nature of being, sometimes I think, in interracial relationships, or at least what I've been told by other people. They feel like they have to take on everything that goes on for that entire, group of people.
mm,
And again, you're just one person. Your experience is not going to be the same as, another person's exactly the same as another person's experience. So if you are a person of color and you are in an interracial dynamic, or relationship, should I say, make it the responsibility of your partner to, kind of read this sort of context, look at this, or, kind of engage in that, and then come back and we can have this conversation about how this shows up for me. On the flip
mm,
side of that, to any white viewers that are listening, or, like come from, points of view that are outside a person of color, um, same message. Don't expect your partner to be the sole kind of voice, with this. And there's a difference between being empathetic and being an allyship. So and when we talk about being an allyship with our partner, is that not only do it's kind of like being empathetic to your partner is like, okay, yeah, I'm listening to you, but of course, because I don't have that experience, there's only a certain level of which, I can understand, which is true. But
mm,
to be in true allyship means that you are putting your partner first in whatever it is that they are needing at those particular times in those particular moments, and that you are not standing in front of them or behind them, you're standing with them.
mm,
So just to, kind of know that. And don't feel bad about what it is that you know or don't know. I think that sometimes, the play into white guilt, can stop sometimes partners from asking hard questions. If you are supposed to be in relation, you're supposed to be intimate, with this person, you need to go there. You need
mm,
to be asking those questions, even if your partner hasn't thought about those questions. But the fact that you're bringing that up, make them think about
mm. And I don't think I could have said that better than myself. So yes.
it.
I would say the only thing I would add onto that, most definitely when it's like within early stages of things, and this is going off of like personal history and whatnot, and being willing to have these conversations with somebody up front. Because I've been asked multiple times by people on apps and whatnot, it's like, oh, are you into white guys? I'm like, I'm not opposed to white dudes, but at the same time, I do have racial trauma that of course I have to deal with for myself and I do
Mm,
work through, which means I don't automatically close that door to other people. But if you're interested in me, you have to recognize that that's something that you're going to have to like deal with before we can even become intimate, because I don't know who you are. I don't know which type of white person you are. Are you the one that sees me as being a whole human being, or are you someone who's just here to objectify me, fetishize me as well? Are you here to just make me into a BBC, or just,
mm,
what is your approach here? And on top of that, in these spaces, do you recognize that you have a power dynamic that
mm,
automatically is there? Like, it's not that, oh, I've had troubles, this, that, and the third throughout my life. Okay, that's great and all, but that does not erase that outside of your personal experience, in my personal experiences, when we go out into public, you have a different kind of treatment than I will ever receive. Is that something that you're willing to acknowledge? And having these conversations early on makes it a lot easier too. It
mm,
makes it so that when you get to those points where you have something crucial that happens in society, in your own neighborhood, within your family that y'all have to talk about, this makes those conversations so much easier. It
yeah.
makes them going out to get their education about your experiences a little bit easier. It helps tie in the historic aspect of your experiences as well as those personal experiences.
Yeah, because in on the outside of the frame of just, like hookup culture or whatever, where you may be with somebody every once in a while or for a night, if you are in the nature of dating or wanting to be in a serious relationship or things like that, these are things that eventually are going to manifest and come up, no matter if you've talked about them or not.
Mm.
And it's kind of like you have to ask yourself, would you have rather dealt with this early on? And, even if there's, some hangups, like we could have worked past it, other than, oh, getting to like, oh, we're 3 years into our relationship and now this is manifesting in some sort of way. And now we in some deep trouble.
Hmm. Don't manifest a lie in your relationship, y'all.
Mm,
Deal with it up front.
mm,
So, are you ready for a little bit of Never Have I Ever?
I am.
Awesomeness. So, never have I ever been walked in on while having sex.
Never have. Never have.
Um, I would say,
You always got a two-parter.
I really do. I really do. I think I have. I believe I've been walked in on while having sex, but the person who walked in did not realize that I was having sex. So
Hmm.
that doesn't I guess it doesn't count. I don't know. But I have. But yeah. Um
We may need to do a special Soliloquy podcast after dark to get more into these stories.
maybe. Um, I think it only happened once. Like usually I
Mm,
don't whenever I do have hookups or whatever, it's like that's part of the reason why I love having my own space is that I don't
mhm.
have to worry about somebody walking in.
Right.
And whenever I had roommates in the past, be it was my apartment, I still didn't do it solely because I'm like, okay, I don't want to have that experience of them knocking on the door and I have a whole ass motherfucker up in here. And now I have to
Mm,
be like, now do I introduce them? Like, what do we do here?
right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm in here fucking, leave me alone.
Well, right. Like read the signs.
Read the signs. Why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be at your family's place. What the fuck? But yeah, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an easy one for me because like anytime I've had like intimate relations, it's always been like just me and the person. Like
Mhm.
nobody is like really around or anything like that. No roommate, type of situation. And I think like that's one of also a main reason why I can't wait to move into like the next stage of my life and having, my own space and things like that. Cause I can't see me trying to set like an intimate mood with people with like knowing like somebody could just walk through the door. Like you say, there has to be circumstances around that. Like the only time where I think if I did live with roommates, like I would feel comfortable with that is like if I know like my roommate is out of town
Hmm.
or something like that. But it's like if they could just come home, from partying or coming home from work, or it's like why would I want to create that type of space anyway?
Exactly. All right. So you want to, would you rather?
Sure.
So would you rather sleep with your high school crush or your celebrity crush?
Celebrity crush. Like, definitely.
Same, same. Honestly, it's going to like I don't even know why that was a question in this. Like, of
I
course, it's
didn't,
going to be the celebrity.
yeah, I didn't really have high school crushes just because like there's a lot of like I had latent development like with like sexuality and things like that. So I mean it's not the fact I didn't have like I think crushes, but it's like I wasn't even in that type of like mind frame
Hmm.
like back in school. But yeah, my celebrity crushes, both men and women, like yeah, we could get it.
Look, my celebrity crushes all the time. Let's go ahead and make this happen. I would say, like, in terms of high school crush, I actually tried. I actually tried. They were not
Mm.
interested, and I'm okay with that, and I accept that.
But
And
hey,
this is like
you shot your
adult,
shot though.
yeah, this was like adult me. So, well, I can't say I really shot my shot. It was more of a tender thing. So I was like, if they swipe left or swipe right.
Yep. Well, I consider it to be a shot. Hey, you went for
Right, right. I went for it, but at the same time, I don't have Tinder anymore anyway, so fuck it. Um, and yeah, if it was the celebrity, motherfucker, what's up?
it. Yeah. That would kind of, it's not to say like that would be the epitome, but you could definitely like say like that would just definitely be something like I didn't even know like was on my bucket list. But like if I had one, like it would
Exactly,
definitely be crossed off.
exactly. Like I would just be like, if I have my celebrity crush and my high school crush in the same room,
Mm.
it's just like, motherfucker, you basic. That's towards the high school crush. Like,
And to clarify, we're not objectifying. We're saying the embodiment of
oh yes, because
of
I'm going to
who
treat them
other
right.
people are. This has
Look,
nothing to do with objectification. It's like,
I'm
do you
trying
know
to
who you are?
look. I'm trying to walk away with the damn babe.
Exactly. I'm trying to
Like,
go up in the world.
I'm trying to have you love me. I'm bringing that S class sex to you. What the
Mm,
fuck? Look, when I tell you I bust the windows out the car, I'm
mm,
busting the windows out the car, and I'm saying their windows, not like their physical car. Like I did my thing on I thang the thing,
mm.
and they bust. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's look.
You better be careful. You incriminate yourself.
Oh, I'm not that person. I'm not that person. Look, y'all, if y'all hear anything that Vernon bust somebody's windows out his out their car slash tires, all this other shit, I don't know what Vernon y'all talk about. It's not this nigga over here. I'm not that stuck on anybody's dick, ass, pussy, and nothing like that because ain't no way. I don't know how y'all be doing that shit.
Mm.
Got too much time on your hand. If you feel judged by that statement, well, that's on you.
Look, didn't we just get talking about you should judge?
You're right. You're right.
Like judging is the key to life.
Because look, if that's you, we ain't dating. You've displayed to me that you are not someone that can have an adult conversation when you are in times of aggression. We
Mm.
cannot date. I'm sorry. Be
Nobody got
great,
time.
be beautiful, be amazing, and stay the fuck over there. I don't want it.
Mm.
Would you like a sex question?
Sure.
This is easy. Do you masturbate? If so, how often?
Oh, easy. Yes. Second part. Often.
I'm so fucking done. Not a number, just often.
Often. No, at first I was thinking of a no, but then I was like, no, like let me not put that out there.
I'm so done. For myself, because I am a virgin, I do masturbate. I need to stop lying. I really do need this. I love all virgins, though. Y'all do y'all.
Well, look, in 2023, I've been a virgin.
Listen. Reversionalize. Yes.
Ooh,
Haven't had sex all year. Did I have
exactly.
sex this year? I sure is. I keeping up with the lie. Anyways.
And I'll say again, we haven't had anything to drink yet.
my God. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So, do I masturbate? I surely do. And I will have to steal your answer and say often. And so okay, it's going to be on the vibrator in my pod whenever, those episodes start rolling out.
Mm,
But so I have this toy that came in that I was testing.
mm,
And I call her the white woman because I didn't want the white woman. Nothing against white women, of course, but I do like some shade to my toys and what I'm going to engage in. So they sent me the wrong one, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm still going to test it, but I will say that toy is amazing. It's heavy as
mm,
hell,
mm.
but it's actually amazing. Like
Okay.
it's one of those partial body dolls,
Mm,
and so it has her vagina and asshole and everything, and
okay.
the weight makes it so much better. Like I've seen the ones that people be using online, and
Mm,
they will fuck it hard enough that it's kind of their
right.
dick is going on the other side of it, and it's like I'm beating the walls out.
Mm,
This one, I don't see that happening with anybody because it's really a deep hole. But at the same time, you're not going to be jumping that thing one-handed up and down on your dick. You're not masturbating yourself. You pick that bitch up and drop her ass. Oh,
mm,
it's going to be some weight on that one. It's
mm,
going to be some weight. Child, I had fun with her last night. That's all I can
mm.
say.
Okay.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Objectifying toys, not people.
Yes, yes, that part. But like it was really good. I would
Okay.
say in terms of the company, I'm like, okay, I could tell that y'all are only in the market for white people because y'all don't have anything darker than like a manila folder on this. But
Mm,
you make great toys.
yeah.
You make great toys.
They figured they had their status quo, so they good.
They good. I'm like, I'm not mad at them because they know who they're marketing to and who they're selling their products to. And I'm like, continue to do y'all. But if y'all could find like another brand using y'all same materials and create some darker skin, you could change the title. Ain't nobody gonna say anything. I'm
Mm,
just like, I'm here because look, the ass felt so good. Meaning like just holding on
mm,
it felt like moisturized skin. And I'm like,
mm,
what the hell is going on? I should not be liking this toy so much, but I'm sorry.
mm,
Y'all.
talk slow.
Me and her might have a date tonight. Let me go
Mm,
get some wine and just like, hey girl, how you doing? I heard that you was looking for me and I just decided to show up.
right.
Let me play a little bit of Usher, a little bit of Alicia Keys, set the mood, shit like that. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time with you and whatnot. Anyways, so look out for that episode when that podcast starts, when that episode comes out. Whew. Anyways, so before I ask for your last words, before we close out the episode, Tyrell, I just want to remind everybody that Hovember is on its way. So y'all need to get y'all asses ready for these conversations. I'll tell you one of the topics I have.
Mm-mm.
So I still need to develop the other nine, but this one I'm all here for. It's
Okay.
horniness is a drug,
Oh, you're wonderful.
right? I cannot wait to have that conversation.
Oh, that's
Oh
going to be
my God.
wonderful.
So, oof, y'all look out for Hovember. It's gonna be great. So, Tyrell, do you have any last words that you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh, just, again, educate yourself on the nature of Black fetishization. If you're not familiar, again, be mindful. If you do engage in fetishes and kinks, do your homework, do your for a little bit of history, see how that is showing up in your feelings for you, and have fun. Have fun creating your limits. Have fun with who you engage with. Again, do not be open all access to everybody, and
Mm,
do you.
amen to that. On that note, Tyrell, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank
Skeet
you for
skeet.
having me.
It's always a pleasure. To the audience out there, thank you all so much for listening to the Holistically podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. And just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful, You are worthy of happiness and joy. You are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, I love you all, and I'll see you next episode. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holiloquy Podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.holiloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.